Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Toxcast. I have a very special guest and a first-timer on the channel. Downfall Darkness is here.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Everything's going good over here. You doing good yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Excited
So,
to finally be here at Toxcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about the Death Pop Legends Orgy, and you're a big fan of these guys. When was the first time you became aware of Orgy?
Orgy. My first time I became aware of them. I believe I owned the movie Scream 3 on VHS
Mm-hmm.
way back in the day, and Orgy was on the soundtrack. I believe it was Dissension, but it was like a clean version of Dissension.
Oh,
And that would have
yeah, I
been,
forgot they were on there.
yeah, yeah, that would have been my first introduction to them as a kid. I later rediscovered them actually on Punk Static Paranoia. That was like I kind of went in reverse. But yeah, I used to like watch a lot of videos on YouTube, and then my introduction came from there too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, as everyone knows from this channel, I am ancient. I used to see the Blue Monday and Stitches videos pretty regularly on MTV, and
Hmm.
I was like, "The hell are these guys?" But then, like, yeah, I did eventually get Candyass and absolutely loved it. Like that
Yeah.
was very much
One of,
my
one of
like,
my oldest CDs in my collection right there.
yeah, it's a good one to
Yeah.
have.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, at a time when I was enamored with most things industrial in the late 90s, Orgy fit in just fine.
Yeah, they were kind of like the black sheep of new metal, along with guys like Dead Sea.
Yeah, they were on like this weird like fringe thing where they were kind of new metal, they kind of weren't. Same with
Right.
Dead Z. Um they ended up on a bunch of tours with a bunch of bands but never quite fit in, but
Yeah.
with those specific bands, but I think they worked just fine.
I'm in agreement with you on that. I thought they fit the bill correctly.
Yeah, you can't have six of the same bands on the a
No.
bill. No, that's why they worked. I think that's why I think they worked so well on that first Family Values tour. They were a good little addition in there.
Hmm.
So we'll just go right into it. Candyass, their first album came out in '98. It had Stitches and Blue Monday as singles. How do you feel at this point? Like you said, you went in reverse order. How do you feel about Candyass?
Candyass that would actually have to be my favorite from their discography. I feel like it was a great introduction. I know that Jay Gordon actually produced Cold Chamber's first album.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Orgy, it kind of showed what Jay Gordon really wanted to do with Orgy the most, I believe, because it was like such a strong introduction. You got songs like The Dissension, which probably is my favorite one, classic like Platinum, uh, Pantomime, Fiend, Revival with Jonathan Davis, and Elijah Blue was another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Revival, like all those songs you just mentioned are wonderful. I'm
Mhm.
also a big fan. Like, I love Gender. I love All the Same. Fetish is really good. But yeah, no, it's a really nice kind of new metal, kind of industrial rock album. It's probably the darkest thing they ever put out. Um, it's got a really strong atmosphere to it, and the songwriting's really good on that album.
Yeah, that's like the one of the like main things that stick out to me when it comes to Orgy is just like the quality of the songwriting and like the way they deliver it with the synths and everything. It's like it's insane.
Yeah, it also helped that they had a very because of how synth heavy they were, especially on the guitar effects, they had a very unique sound. Like
Right.
everything felt synthesized, even the guitars, and it worked in their favor. It gave them that little edge that other bands at the time in that circle didn't really have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they stuck out. Like if you put them on the family values, which is what they they started at Family Values 98 with all the other guys. They kind of stuck out a little bit. They kind of reminded you a little bit of Rammstein, but they
Yeah.
also brought their own unique flavor to the mix. And I think that's what's really important about Orgy.
Yeah. And I think that they had despite being a little darker, I felt that they had more energy than like a Rammstein who felt like I
Right.
like Rammstein,
I do
um
too.
but yeah, but it's a different there's like a almost a pop sensibility to it without that being a dirty word
Hmm.
that Orgy had, whereas like a band like Rammstein didn't quite have yet. They would get there,
Right.
um but yeah, as we just mentioned, they were on the Family Values tour. They I think this was around the time where like all those bands were trying to find their own identity, and as we already mentioned, Orgy did kind of stand out both not only with their sound, visually they stood out too, because they had some of them kind of had that almost androgynous look to them, like very makeup heavy, which was not a thing in the new metal scene, like
No.
outside of like
I
the
mean,
occasional
Cold
like
Chamber kind of did mingle with that a little bit,
yeah.
but not. But as far as the androgyny aspect, yeah, I feel like Orgy, yeah, definitely pushed the envelope there.
Yeah, like it's like Orgy and maybe the singer of Endo. Um, but uh, but yeah, no, yeah, like as you said, like yeah, Cold Chamber had like the gothy thing, but yeah, not a lot of bands were doing it, so they stuck out in that way as well. And I felt that that fed into what we got with the follow up, which was 2000's Vapor Transmission, where
Right.
they kind of got a little lighter and like almost took on a bit more of a spacey sound. Like a lot more
Oh,
like
that's interesting. Yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
a lot more like flanger and phaser and stuff like that in the music.
Yeah.
The songs were a little poppier, but they were still really, really good, and
Oh
they
yeah.
were heavy when they needed to be.
Do you have like one favorite from that album? I know it's
Uh
hard. There's so many.
oh, from Vapor,
From Vapor, yeah.
I want to say Eva.
Eva, yeah. It's really good.
Eva's my favorite of the more somber songs.
Mhm.
The harder hitting ones, maybe Odyssey or even Where's Gerald. I'm actually a big fan of too.
Where's Gerald? Yeah. That was the
Yeah,
final song on there on
yeah,
Vapor Transfer.
that one like is
Yeah.
super catchy. Like and what's the second to last song? Not Recreation.
Um, let me
Chasing
see.
Sirens. That one's really good
Right.
too.
That one's on Zoolanders too.
Oh, is that one's
There's
on
a,
Zoolander?
yeah, there's a little yeah, I'm not gonna spoil where it is, but yeah, there's a little bit of it on Zoolanders.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I know they did Faces for Zoolander, but I guess I had missed that there was Chasing Sirens in there.
Yeah. My favorites that like automatically come to mind from Vapor would be 107 is probably my favorite on there. I think it's like maybe the heaviest song we got on Vapor Transmission.
107, I think, is one of the best uses of synthesizers and like uh the electronic drum like loop things they do
Yeah.
sometimes. Like that's
It's
the
got
best
a
example
really
on an album.
heavy start. Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
Eva, yeah, that one's a classic. Sucker Face, good.
So
Dramatica, I kind of got like some a little bit of God Lives Underwater vibes from Dramatica.
yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Chasing
that
Sirens, great. Yeah,
yeah,
Where's
Chasing
Gerald?
Sirens is good. Uh I think the only song on Vapor I don't particularly care for, and it's okay. It's just the one I tend to jump away from the most is probably Recreation. But like
Oh,
everything
okay.
else I really like. Even Eyes Radio Lies felt like it should have been a single. Like it's like it the way it's structured like feels like it has single vibes.
Right.
But I thought that one was really catchy, and I thought the single choices were really good. Like I love
Oh,
Opticon. I love Fiction.
oh yeah, they did a great job with the music video for Fiction.
Yeah, no, that was another one that was all over the place, and I was
Yeah.
surprised when Vapor didn't quite blow up as big as Candyass did. Um,
Mm,
and another thing where they had they had a lot of strong visuals and everything like that. Like I loved the look of all like the artwork in Vapor Transmission, the look of, as you said, the video for Fiction. Uh, they did have a slight change in stage appearance around this time. I know this was around the time where Jay Gordon
Okay.
started wearing like sunglasses and stuff like that, and almost went into like it was more of like an 80s feel to his look, like
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah,
Uh,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
but yeah, but I still think they brought it, and they didn't quite go for what like a band like Power Man 5000 did with their spacey aesthetic, where they were like in like spacesuits.
Right. They had an
um,
interesting evolution too.
but yeah, no, I thought Vapor was really really good, and while it did increase in the pop sensibilities, still,
I
as
do
mentioned,
agree. Yeah.
it's still
Hmm.
harder when it needed to be. But
Exactly.
yeah, he kind of took a little bit of a leap there.
I think the Where's Gerald, the final song on Vapor Transmission, kind of was trying to go a little bit more for the new metal type of sound, a little bit like
Yeah,
you heard on Candyass. And I don't know, I noticed that most of the fan base that they garnered with Vapor Transmission kind of felt like alienated by more of the sounds that you heard on Punk Static Paranoia and Candyass.
yeah, which seems weird because like it, like I do admit that uh if eras were anything, Punk Static probably should have been where they went in the second one if they were trying, because
I
Punk
was just
Static,
going to get to that.
yeah,
Yep,
because Punk Static feels more the closest they got to properly new metal,
right.
and but it came in 2004, so it's a little
Yeah,
late.
that's it. They were, you know what? The funny thing about Orgy is like I've always said they were kind of like way too ahead of their time, and
Yeah,
it really shows when you look at their musical evolution. Like they should have executed Punch Static Paranoia after Candy Ass. It might have. I feel like it would have been received a lot better.
yeah, because it would have fit right in there, and then you could have done Vapor as like a third,
Uh,
like slightly softer album, um, which would
yeah,
actually would have
maybe
fit in with the rise of like your Breaking Benjamins and
exactly.
everything.
Exactly. That's what I said. They were ahead of their time. I feel like if they just kind of reversed the ordering of Punk Static Paranoia and Vapor Transmission, they might have gotten received better.
Yeah. There's also part of me that thinks maybe the 4 year gap didn't particularly help. I know they were going through
Yeah.
label issues. I know
Yeah.
they got dropped after Vapor, and then I think Punk Static came out on their own label. Um,
Yeah. D1 Records.
yeah. So yeah, so there was a little bit of turmoil there, but yeah, like I think that gap didn't help them either. But yeah, like flipping the script on those two albums probably would have done them wonders.
For sure.
Um, let's talk about a little bit of in between, because around this time was when they did uh they, as we mentioned, they contributed Faces to the Zoolander soundtrack. Uh, because of whatever I can't remember what the issues were, but because of the issues Jonathan Davis was having with the Queen of the Damned soundtrack, Jay Gordon stepped in and did Slept Along.
Right.
Julien-K formed, but they didn't release anything yet. Like, so it was just more of a idea than a thing really yet.
Hmm.
So, so were you into Faces?
Faces. Which could you elaborate more? What about it?
Oh, like, did you like the style of Faces? Like, did you feel that it fit in with what they were doing on Vapor, even though it wasn't on the album?
Oh, right, yeah, because it wasn't on the out. Correct. Yeah, yeah, I do. I feel like it fit in pretty well. It was more on the poppy side, I think, but makes sense, you know, considering it was made for the movie Zoolander.
Yeah, like I had
No,
kind
wait,
of,
was it what movie was it?
yeah, no, it was
Was it
in
made for the movie?
Zoolander.
Oh, okay. I think I might have mixed up. Anyway, continue.
Um, but yeah, no, so that one, and then obviously Gordon, he was in, or he did the Slept So Long song for Queen of the Damned. I think he fit that song really well, like with his vocals. Um, But
That's so long. Yeah, that was on Queen of the Damned. Yep.
yep. But then, as we had just kind of alluded to, then we get Punk Static Paranoia in 2004. It
Hmm.
has Vague as a single. It has Pure as a single. Now, you said that this was your first true Orgy album. Like, what are your
This is the
feelings?
first one. This is the first one like I actually picked up like way back in the day. You know, it's like HMV or whatever. Yeah, it was the first one I picked up.
So, what are your feelings on it at this point? Like, is it still like, as you said,
Um,
Candyass is your
at this
favorite now?
point, I honestly, I there are some days where I prefer it over vapor transmission, which like would be my second favorite. But
Mm-hmm.
I really like the album. I enjoy it. I think if you're a new metal fan, I think like this is your album if you want to go to Orgy. Like because they really leaned into their new metal aesthetic on this album.
Yeah, no, I think like the new metal hooks are definitely there stronger,
Right.
especially in stuff like Beautiful Disgrace, like Vague, like The
Yeah.
Obvious, and even little
Inside
bits
my
of
head.
Can't Take
Yeah,
This.
right. Can't take this. Leave me out. Yeah, it's all good.
Um, yeah, I remember when I first heard this, I was a little thrown off because
Okay.
I had spent so much time with Vapor and Candyass, but I did over time get really into it. And I like the majority of it. I think The Obvious is probably my favorite song. With Beautiful Disgrace maybe just slightly behind.
Yeah, Beautiful Disgrace would be my favorite on this album. Uh, and would you say the obvious is yours?
Yeah,
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one reminds me more of the Vapor transmission sound
I
a
think
little
that
bit.
might be why I like it the most.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but yeah, but Beautiful Disgrace is probably the heaviest thing they had done like on that album,
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
like definitely felt like I understand why Vague was the single because Vague is super catchy, but
Hmm.
but yeah, I feel if they had like instead of Pure, Beautiful Disgrace probably would have been a better second single. Pure's all right though. Uh, but yeah, no. So yeah. So now we're in 2004. Orgy's kind of like, what are we gonna do now? And then we properly get the start of Julien-K.
Yeah, we
And
also got the this thing, 2004,
what is?
Trans Global
That's
Spectacle.
trans. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but
Is
yeah.
that like I don't think I've never actually seen that. Is that like just
Oh, you
live
haven't,
footage
right?
or is it
It's
videos and stuff?
the most I believe like most of the content on here it's actually uploaded to YouTube. You can look it up. It's from 1997 to 2004. It covers all their road stories and all that stuff throughout the
Okay.
touring yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so it's like a collection like behind the scenes thing. Okay.
right.
All right. Actually, I like things like that.
Yeah, it's
Um
pretty cool. Yeah. I recommend it actually. If you're not familiar with Orgy, you can watch Trans Global Spectacle and decide if they're your cup of tea or not.
that was why I really liked the early Manson VHSs because there was so much like while there was a lot of live footage like Dead to the World
Uh,
and God is on the TV, it was so much like backstage stuff and like interview
right.
stuff like laced in and like road stuff. I really liked that. Like, 'cause it gives you a different
Yeah, it's
side of the
interesting.
band instead of what they're portraying like on
Yeah.
stage or in videos.
Yeah, sometimes they'll even go into detail about certain songs and what it means and etc. So yeah, they're good watches for sure.
I'm going to hunt that down and go watch it.
Yeah, I'd recommend it highly.
um but yeah, so that came out, and then I actually didn't realize this until putting this together. I didn't realize the first Julien-K came out in the same year as as Dead by Sunrise. I
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
realize they both came out in '09.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I thought Julien-K might have came out a few years earlier, but apparently their album was delayed. Death to Analog.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I
Right.
know the singles were out beforehand because they had Kick the
Yeah.
Bass and
Yeah,
they
because
had
they were already touring and stuff, right?
yeah,
So,
because they had they had Kick the Bass. They had that song Technical Difficulties. I think they had something with Chester on it.
right.
Um, and it was on like one of the
Yeah.
Transformers soundtracks.
Yeah. I remember watching some like music video from Julien-K. I believe it was for the song Death to Analog, and there's a Chester cameos in there too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Death Analog.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so those like because of the delays, they came out at the same time. I really like that first Julien-K album, and I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that like I know it's far removed from Orgy, but
yeah,
it has a Depeche Mode feel to it, and I like them, so I think it kind of works towards that.
right.
Uh, whereas Dead
I
by
think that
Sun, you go ahead.
with Julian K, I feel like there's a spectrum of the Orgy fans that really like the this album, Vapor Transmission. I feel like Julian K might be more familiar with them
I
and towards that demographic.
I can completely understand that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it is a little softer and more accessible. Um, they've got that like kind of synth poppy feel to a bunch of their songs, like and like a not quite dubstep, but like harder electronics on some of the songs, like with almost not quite breakbeat, not quite drum and bass, but there's like elements of it here and there. Um, and but yeah, no, I can see that catering to more Vapor Transmission fans.
right.
Whereas Dead by Sunrise, I re-listened to it yesterday because it had been a while since I'd properly listened to it all the way through, and I forgot how good it was. Um,
Yeah,
like it's a lot catchier than I remember. Like Crawl Back In is a super catchy single, like perfect single choice. But a lot of the softer numbers, like they resonated really well, and I think that might be aided by the fact that Chester has such a good voice. And he's very emotive. He lends himself very well to the melodies that Ryan and Amir crafted on that album.
totally. Yeah, Death by Sunrise was interesting. We were at a point where Linkin Park were kind of uh, at a standstill as to what direction they wanted to take. You had Mike Shinoda going into Fort Minor and Chester taking on Dead by Sunrise, and it was an interesting dynamic there that was created. Because Chester kind of got the freedom to kind of lean into what he wanted to do, and Mike got the freedom to lean into what he wanted to do. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think it worked out really well for that. I'm trying to think in the Linkin Park timeline where this is this Living Things or is this Thousand
No,
Suns?
this would have been like, is this like in what context? Like, what timeline are we in?
Like what like cuz 2009 I'm trying to think what the
Oh,
nearest
right. It
Linkin
was
Park
minute.
album.
Yeah, it was kind of like fringing right after Minutes to Midnight and into what was the album after Minutes to Midnight?
Thousand Suns.
1,000 Suns, right? Yeah.
Okay, all right, so it's in between those. Okay. Which actually that makes a lot of sense because of how of the stylistic change that went through when they started doing Thousand Suns and then Living Things.
Yeah.
Whereas this the more rock element of Dead by Sunrise, even with the synths and everything, kind of almost harkens a little bit to Minutes to Midnight.
hmm Yeah.
Um,
It was. Yeah. You're talking about Dead by Sunrise and
yeah.
Minutes to Midnight? Yeah, there are similarities. I can definitely see that.
Um,
Dead by Sunrise had kind of more of a darker alternative emo feel to it.
Yeah, and I think the use of synthesizers and stuff and like the more somber numbers helped to create like craft that darker like
Exactly.
vibe.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
What are your overall feelings on Dead by Sunrise? And if you have any more on Julien-K?
I like both projects. I'd admittedly listen to more Dead by Sunrise than Julian-K.
Mm,
But I enjoy Julian-K. I feel like there's my favorite song from Julian-K would have to be Death to Analog. I really enjoyed their use of like interludes, like they had like the System to Sex into Maestro. I enjoyed that.
mm.
Look at You, Someday Soon. It really showed like Ryan Shuck is more than just a guitar player. He's also a really capable vocalist.
Yeah,
So yeah, so Julian-K I enjoyed. Dead by Sunrise was a nice little experiment for Chester Bennington. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm sad that they never picked that project up. Would have been
agreed.
cool to see them, yeah, make another record.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen, especially seeing as where Linkin Park went, and then where Julien-K started to go. I would have been very interested to see what a second Dead by Sunrise album would have sounded like.
Yeah,
And then after this, and to comment on what you said, like Ryan's vocals are lovely. Like I wasn't expecting that when they announced
Right.
Julien-K, but he has great vocals. Um, so then
Yeah,
after
I thought
this,
it was like when I first heard Julian-K, I thought it was like kind of like Ryan was kind of trying to imitate Jay's vocals a little bit, like especially on songs like Maestro. But
yeah,
it was yeah, but like it was interesting. Like his voice really works for that style, and
yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
And I think he actually started to come into his own a little bit more after that. Especially on those I don't know if you ever listened to them, but the two California Noir albums where they got like far more synth pop and like a little darker
Yeah,
and like
I'm
more
not familiar.
chill. His
Okay,
I think his voice lended really well to those. Like
all right.
it's like it's a little more like sultry and subdued, and I think it felt the situation instead of him doing like a harder rock thing, which I guess he's doing now in Edema, but
Great. Yeah,
but
he's a Zima frontman now. That's pretty cool to see as well.
God, that was so weird.
It was, yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting that one at all.
No,
I thought, yeah, but
eh,
Adema has went through their fair share of vocalists.
yeah. I still think they should have kept Bobby Reeves. I think that was the best one they had at the time. But they
Mhm.
wanted it was kind of a crap way how he left because they wanted Marky back, and then so they kind of just booted Reeves. And then Marky
Yeah,
lasted like a couple of months. I'm like, you guys suck. But yeah, but hopefully him being there now kind of stabilizes that group, because if anybody needs stability, it's probably Edema or
yeah.
Flaw.
Adema,
uh
they're so unstable.
yes. So after the fact that we had more Julien-K, um out of nowhere seemingly, and I think in the middle of this, maybe you know something about this. I know nothing about it. Jay Gordon apparently has a dubstep project called Kilowatt. I know nothing about this.
I I know of it. I don't, but I couldn't tell you much about it because yeah, I haven't really consumed that
Okay.
kilowatt project yet.
I think it was around the same time that Jonathan Davis was doing his the J Devil thing. So I
Right. Okay.
uh
Yeah, that makes sense.
so yeah, like just kind of like blended in, but like because when I was like looking through things, I saw that and I was like, oh, I don't think I ever realized that. Um, but yeah, so out of nowhere, around what was like 2012, 2011, we got Orgy returned. Um, or maybe it was even later, 2013. Um,
Was it? I'm not sure.
it was somewhere in there because I know Toxic came out in 2015, so it was before that.
Right.
So yeah, maybe 2013, 2014. But yeah, Orgy just kind of repopped up, and I for one was super excited until I realized that it was just Jay Gordon and all the other
Mm,
pieces were gone. I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
yeah.
Um, but they released Grime of the Century, and I thought this was okay. And this is, um, for better or worse, the only era that I've ever seen, because I never got to see Orgy live when I was younger. But I did get to see Orgy live on their first reunion tour, where they played with Vampires Everywhere and Davy's Suicide. Um, and so it was, and I know it was one of a guy from Dead Z, a guy from the Start, and
Carlton from Dead Z. Okay.
and then I think somebody from the Dreaming. I think that was who the live band was comprised of, but I don't 100% remember.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen this iteration of Orgy once myself in 2018 at the Gramercy Theater. They had Motigrator supporting them
oh God,
and
new
some
Moto
other
Grader.
bands. Yeah,
Um, I thought they were really good live.
yeah, they still got it live. I
Yeah,
think.
like I think all his hired hands did really well. I would have preferred to see Amir and Bobby and Ryan, but it was a chance to see Orgy, and I saw him. Um, but and they did play. They played Grime of the Century live, but that was the only new thing they played. And I think they only played
Yeah,
one
they.
song when I saw them from Punk Static. Everything else was Vapor or Candyass stuff.
Oh wow, you're lucky, man. When
Uh,
when I saw them live, they did not play anything from Punk Static. They played like a few of their new songs and most of their older songs from Vapor and Candy Apps.
they play. They played. I know they played Vague. Um, I'm not. Everything else is drawing a blank. I'm not thinking they played anything else.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, but like I know it was like a 14 song set, and I think it was like six Candy Ass, six Vapor ish. And then they did play Where's Gerald, which was awesome.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, but then they played Grime and they played Vague. But then in 2015 we got Toxic, and I do not like that album or EP. Um,
right.
I remember listening to it, and I went into it trying to be a bit more open because I thought Grime of the Century, while not great, I thought it was fine. And yeah, I just couldn't get into it. And maybe at this point I need to re-listen, but it
I
wasn't.
don't blame you. Yeah, it's a bit removed from their original material. It's not like they're continuing in any of those directions at all. It's like they're completely different now. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it was. It
It has,
was.
it has like more of like an electronic rock, dubstep-y type feel.
Yeah, yeah. No, they definitely went
Yeah,
like they kind of leaned in towards like a synth wavy stuff.
yeah,
Which it's fine. Um, but yeah, I just remember being. It wasn't the orgy I wanted. Like
right.
like I wanted any of the first three albums. I would have been happy if they did Punk
Yeah,
Static again. I would have been happy with. I knew they were never gonna do Candy Ass again, but like I would have been fine with any of those sounds. But it was missing the. I don't know if it was missing the original band or if it was maybe that was the direction they would have gone in anyways. But yeah, it wasn't particularly what I wanted. Um, I particularly
it's just Jay and Carlton now, and the new lineup. Like it's not like the original orgy with all
yeah
the other guys like Amir, Paige, Bobby, Ryan. It's like
yeah
well, it's
that
only 1 out of 5. So yeah,
yeah the dynamic didn't like it had been severed. It was gone.
yeah.
Um, and I particularly remember the song that bothered me the most on the EP was I think it might have even been one of the singles, but Spells. I was like, this is
Yeah, I
terrible.
didn't know. Yeah, I didn't like that
uh,
one either.
I thought Wide Awake and Dead was okay, but yeah, but I think that was might have been the only saving grace. But yeah, I remember hearing Spells and Suck It and being like, oh no, 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 no.
Mm.
I was like, I think this is dead. And then we had they've kind of I was expecting like either a full album or another EP, but instead which maybe isn't the worst decision in the world, but they've just been steadily kind of putting out singles since then. Um, I
Yeah,
remember, I remember Army to Your Party was kind of catchy, and I thought Empty was all right, but everything else kind of in one ear and out the other,
I
kind of the
well, like
same.
I've listened to like some of the newer Jay Gordon interviews, and like I feel like I believe that's what he said. Is like that's the plan. They just intend to like keep releasing singles until they have another album.
I
Um,
mean, it's not the worst idea.
yeah, it's yeah, but it's not like I'd rather actually get into the studio and focus your time and energy into making a focused album.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
more cohesive instead of something
right,
just like spit out and almost disposable, which is
right.
kind of what they've been doing.
But yeah, that's what I feel like. That's what a lot of artists. I feel like that's just the direction the music industry has been going now.
Yeah, like it's kind of all about attention span almost,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
kind of sucks. Like
yeah,
the era of like sitting like a focused like fully structured album, you're not going to get it a lot from a lot of more accessible music. You kind of got to go underground for it now. and it's unfortunate. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Um, so what are your what are your hopes for like the future of how the band is going to go? Like, do you think at any point there's a mending of fences and at least one of the former members gets back in there? Or
I
do you
mean,
think that's
that's the dream, right? But I don't know. It all depends on them. I feel like there was like maybe a little period in the 2000s where like Amir and Ryan were kind of prioritizing Julien-K, and maybe I don't know, Jay. From what I've read online, was not interested in Julien-K. So it was like creative differences kind of tore apart the band, and Jay hoarded the Orgy name. Now we have the Orgy we have today.
yeah.
But it would be nice. It would be nice to see, everybody get along again, and actually, have the true original lineup of Orgy perform once again. It would be really cool. I'd like to see it.
I completely agree with you. And yeah, maybe I guess there could have been like a misinterpretation, like especially if they weren't communicating where he had heard Julien-K and he thought maybe that was their like musical direction they were going in now. I mean, it's not like but he also did take Orgy in a very different direction.
Right.
Um, but
It's yeah, it's business.
yeah, but I don't know. But yeah, no, that's the same with like almost all of our favorite bands. We just like we want the people that we loved who made the music we love to be in there,
Exactly.
not like a dragging the corpse of the band we loved around.
Right.
But but like
Mm.
Orgy, regardless of where Orgy is now, Orgy still stands amongst some of my favorite bands. Like I still have strong connections to those early Orgy
Oh, yeah.
albums, and I
Completely
probably
agree.
always will.
Same, yeah. Again, the quality of songwriting and musicianship on those first three albums are unparalleled, man. Like I would love to see that version of Orgy again. You
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah, no, like yeah, if just get them all together for 20th or no, we're past 20. 30th year anniversaries for all the albums. Just to let them go on tour like the original band members. Take them out. That's what we want.
Yeah, it would be great.
Or that version to do a new studio album, which that's probably unlikely,
It's
but
unlikely. Yeah, I
I
don't
can
know
dream
what
it.
Bobby and Paige are up to these days.
Yeah.
So who knows?
But we got Coal Chamber back, so I mean
Oh
anything's
yeah, that's
possible.
awesome. Yeah, we can only hope, man.
Um but yeah, so that will do it for this episode of Toxcast. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining me, Downfall Darkness. It was awesome.
Thank
Um,
you, Detox.
he has a YouTube channel. I will put it in the description. Go subscribe to it. It's bigger than mine, anyways, but go do it anyways because he's awesome. But anything else you want to plug?
Um, I'll give a shout out to Suzuki Memories. He's a huge Orgy fan. If you're into Orgy, go check out that channel because he's archived a lot of great Orgy content, and feel like it's something Orgy fans would appreciate.
Excellent. All right. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.
Yeah.